See you in Auckland in May. The latest from Podnews.net with Magellan AI, now analysing Spanish podcasts. The New Zealand Podcast Summit has announced its second year's sessions, an annual hui for Aotearoa's podcasting community. This year it's scheduled for Saturday, May the 13th in Auckland. Speakers will include RNZ's Tim Watkin, the head of funding at NZ On Air Amy Mills, and the Spin-Off's head of podcasts Jane Yee. You can get your tickets now. 7 audio workers have been laid off by Vox Media, reports Vox Media's Hot Pod, including the team producing Cover Story. Vox declined to give exact figures. Around 130 people were laid off in total, or 7% of the workforce. And Spotify is also to cut staff this week, according to Bloomberg. Prisa Audio made its first upfront presentation on Friday. The company claims it's the world's second largest audio streaming company and ranks number 1 in the Spanish language. The release contains a number of data points. Its ad revenue grew 43% over the previous year. In Germany, the AGMA podcast ranker for December was released. Zeit Online's What Now, a news podcast which published 82 episodes in December, is number 1 with 6.8 million downloads. Comedy show Baywatch Berlin, which released 4 shows, is at number 2 with 5.7 million. It's participating publishers only. In the Netherlands, there's news from Lieven Heremans about a fund for audio production from the public broadcaster NPO, which was to disappear and now isn't. Kind of. And congratulations to African podcasting group Podbreak for reaching your first year anniversary. It's a Monday, so time for some tech stuff. If you'd like your podcast appearing in Fountain's activity feed, then you need to add a split to your Fountain address in your value block. Then it can see all your boosts, not just those made on Fountain. Change your username in a URL that you'll find in today's newsletter for the details. And while we did that, we also added Podcast Index as a 1% split. Dave and Adam, you're welcome. A high-performance port of OpenAI's Whisper speech recognition tool for Apple Silicon is now available. It also runs on iOS. And if you do a live podcast, Are You Lit? The live item tag will give your podcast listeners a notification when your show is being broadcast live. We'll link to a blog post today explaining a little more from the point of view of a radio station. And in podcast news, behind every catfish, there's the bait. Love Janessa is a new true crime podcast from the BBC World Service and CBC Podcasts, produced by Antica Productions and Telltale Industries. It launches today, telling the story of an unwitting human face of a digital con. Project Brazen and PRX have released The Sound Mystery of Havana Syndrome, an investigative podcast looking at a debilitating and confounding illness in the Cuban US Embassy. What caused it? Could it be caused by noisy crickets or mosquito spray? Or could it all be a mass delusion? The Slowdown has a new host, the award-winning poet and writer Major Jackson. The show shares a selected poem and thoughtful reflection every weekday, and it's produced by American Public Media in partnership with the Poetry Foundation. And launched in February 2021, the San Diego Newsfix has published its last episode. This podcast is sponsored by Magellan AI. Magellan AI has added support for analysing Spanish language podcasts in the US and Mexico. The product is already monitoring more than 2,000 advertisers. To get a demo, just go to magellan.ai/Spanish. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.